Good morning, students. This is Professor Young. I hope everyone had a relaxing spring holiday. I hope you took the time to reflect on the world, your existence, moreover, your position as a student and the opportunity that you have to learn here at Victor Valley College. This week, or moving forward, I'm going to change things around a little bit. I am not going to do weekly Confer Zooms just because of some of the issues related to privacy. Moreover, it's a very tough modality for me to teach. My style of teaching is really hands-on, writing on the board, giving examples, talking to my students in a professional context. Within Confer Zoom, there are limitations for me to, in my mind, effectively teach the way I'm most productive. So with these things in mind, on a weekly basis, I'm going to do these screencast-o-matics. The title will be Professor's Comments. And on a regular basis, I will comment on things as we go through the class, on points of emphasis, more importantly, things that are important for the week, and also add additional things that are related to maybe grading and those types of things. One point I do want to make today before we begin is that moving forward, the homework that you students will be completing at the Wiley Plus website, you will have 2 submissions based upon some of the evaluations I made last week. And this is no indictment on anyone at all. Again, I do believe that my students have the utmost respect for what they're doing, are ethical and moral, and thus want to do their best work. However, in my opinion, 3 attempts for homework, especially with the way in which the homeworks are constructed, may promote students to actually just guess their way through homework. And because there is a significant number of points which can augment, maybe in a somewhat skewed fashion, a student's overall grade, I want to ensure that when you start your homework, when you try your homework, that you're doing it with due diligence, that your attempt is to do the best you can and not to guess through for point attributions. Once again, this is not, I'm in no way, shape, or form indicting you and saying that this has been your practice yet. I am going to change things up there. So in lieu of the 2 submissions, you want to try to get the homework right the first time. I think this will promote greater reading, more note-taking, more intuitive thought before you actually try the homework. And then on the second attempt, there's a 10% deduction in the amount of points that a student can earn on the homework assignments. The only other thing that is a little bit different is that I will continuously update grades on a weekly basis. So I've gotten a couple of emails regarding, grade updates. So generally, if you have a week that you're doing your work from, let's say, Monday to Sunday night or Monday to Monday, then it'll take me at minimum 3 to 4 days to get the grades moved over into our Canvas shell from the Wiley shell. So sending me an email I'll just send it back and say that I'm still working on it. So your patience is definitely appreciated in that regard. The only other thing I want to say is continue to stand and stay, continue to work, to do your best efforts. Remember, learning is lifelong, and you're doing this so that you can move on in your academic careers and build on what you've learned this semester. And so in lieu of that, it's required that you do some work. But I do appreciate those of you that are still in the class and still pursuing passing the course. And I'm pretty confident that those of you that are still here will do at minimum that based upon your efforts. So in this week, we're going to talk about inventories. And inventories are something that's important in terms of how a merchandising facility, a company such as Best Buy or Target, I use those two examples because I'm sure we've all been to one of those establishments, how they develop an ending inventory value. And as we learned in the last chapter, that cost of goods sold is a separate section that's created for the income statement. Right? And so thus ending inventory it's a huge valuation process. It's important in terms of an accountant that this number is done the best or as correct as possible. Now, with that being said, you're going to find in this chapter that there's going to be 4 separate types of inventory valuation methods. And as an accounting decision maker, you would have the option of sharing and or displaying or in some way conveying an inventory amount that you as the accountant felt was the best fit for your corporation. So in lieu of this, we're going to talk a little bit about this week, or you will read on, how do we classify and determine inventory? Moreover, why is it important? Again, inventory shows up in 2 locations. Inventory shows up on the income statement within the cost of goods sold section, and it also shows up on the balance sheet. That is the ending amount. Thus, ending inventory becomes beginning inventory for the new accounting period. Also, we want to apply inventory cost methods and discuss their financial effects. You will notice as you go through the chapter that the various inventory methods have different impacts on the financial statement. And then indicate or discuss the effects of inventory errors. What happens if an accountant makes an error in inventory calculations? This is not a primary emphasis for my preview as a professor, but yet you will see some pedagogical concepts related to this. And then lastly, explain the statement presentation and look at what we might call ratio analysis regarding inventory. So in the truest sense, because we are talked about, and I mentioned Best Buy and Target, these firms are what we call merchandising companies. You see on the left of the slide here. On its face, they have one type of inventory. Now, I must add to that, of course, the inventory are the numbers of things that are classified and are categorized in different ways. For example, as soon as you walk into Target, the first thing you see on the right-hand side is the women's clothing section. I've been in Target lately. The next thing on the left side that you see in Target are the ancillary items regarding jewelry and purses. As you walk down the right side of the aisle there, you'll see women's shoes, men's shoes. As you move into the back portion of the store, you'll see men's clothing. As you make the circle, you'll see books, you'll see baby items, and my favorite section, video games and the TV section. I like the book section as well. My point is that each of these areas of the store has some form of inventory. But under this concept today, we're viewing all of those things as numbers versus categories. And we'll talk more about this on Wednesday. The other side of the coin would be if you were in a manufacturing company, and I have a couple of students in this class that are in my management accounting class, where we actually talk about the production of the good. That is, if we're making a car, if we're making a computer, if the company is producing, moreover, shoes. Well, the inventory is broken up into 3 different categories. That is raw materials. That's the actual good that's being manipulated. Work in process. This is when the inventory is being, there's touch labor, there's direct labor that's being applied to bring the good to its finished goods state, which is the third inventory category. Our focus is on the left side of the screen. So I'll leave you with this fact here, and then you can go ahead and begin doing some reading. And as I mentioned, I'll more than likely do another one of these on Wednesday. So our focus is on the periodic system, right? Because the perpetual systems are driven by computerization. So if we consider the perpetual system, I mean, it's plausible for us as accounting academics, right? But perpetual system has a position that's more realistic to a firm that we can look at and hear the sound of the registering the inventory as it's sold. From an academic perspective, though, in my mind, the periodic system is more intuitively based, mathematically based, in terms of a student's understanding of how to identify, calculate, and then summarize an ending inventory amount. It's very important. Something that I would do if I were in class is I would create T accounts for my inventory, right? Of course, inventory is an asset account. The debit is the plus, the credit is the minus. And we learned this. We did this when we talked about supplies back in chapter 2, and more when we did chapter 3, and we did an adjustment to inventory. We saw that actually worked. Remember, the focus of this chapter is periodic system. Again, as you read the chapter, you're going to read some things on perpetual system. You're going to think about it academically. It all makes sense, right? But your focus in terms of the problems that I'm going to require on the quiz and ultimately on the exam is going to be on periodic inventory systems. Okay. With that being said, I don't want to digress and or have you go over any expanded things that you would normally do by yourself. So I'll leave you with this slide. So this is a bird's eye view of the inventory methods. Specific ID, first in, first out, last in, first out, and average costing. Keep in mind as you're going through your textbook and you're working on these items, make sure that you have a blank sheet of paper next to you. And each time you go and read a particular page, you want to make sure to jot down any of the examples that the book presents in these regards, in these different method types. Okay. Well, best success. I do appreciate your time today, and remember to read more than once. Wait to do your homework. Finalize your homework after you've read. So today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday should be reading the chapter and going through the PowerPoints before you actually do any applied work. All right, students, thank you for your time. Stick, stand, and stay, and we'll talk to you soon.